Okie dokie. So, I appreciate you guys taking the time to do this. I know all three of you had successful internships, I heard, this summer. So that's why we want to listen to that and see how that looks in the world of working remotely. But we have to remember also it is a job and that people need to do it well. We'll go this way. I'm going to let Blake and then Aaron and then Brady introduce themselves, give them a little bit of information about where they worked, what their internship was, and then we'll start some questions. So you go ahead, Blake. You're muted, Blake. Sorry.
Okay, here we go. Can you hear me now? Sorry, I thought I'd unmuted myself.
Can you guys hear Blake? You can hear him? Okay, go right ahead then. I can't hear you, but that's fine.
People can't hear me. I can say whatever I want to. All right. So I'm Blake. I am a senior trust and wealth management major. I did my summer internship with Wells Fargo. I was supposed to be in San Francisco, California, but of course, due to COVID-19, I spent my summer in Surf City, North Carolina, working remotely. I worked with their real estate asset management group. So, Aaron, you can go next.
Sounds good. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Schnorr. I'm a student here at Campbell University, major in trust and wealth management and economics. Like Blake, I worked for Wells Fargo this summer. I was supposed to be working in Winston-Salem with the Philanthropic Services Department. That, of course, went virtual. But I was able to stay near Winston-Salem in a town hall, which my good friend Adam Johnson, who was a permanent hire with Wells, was living. And he was living there, so I was able to stay with him and work out of a rural hall. Had a great experience with the Philanthropic Services team. It was a great time.
Jill, we can hear you. Jill? Hey, we can hear you now.
I'm on the move, guys. Sorry.
Okay.
Do you want me to keep going? Jill?
Okay. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Now I can hear you. Awesome. Okay.
All right.
All right. So, Brady, you're about to speak?
Yeah. So, hello, my name is Brady Frampton, and I was with AFMA, the American Armed Forces Mutual Aid Association, in their wealth management division, mostly doing investments, but financial planning as well. And did my internship. It was supposed to be from being at my home in
Okay.
the entirety of the internship. So, yeah.
All right. So I was trying to find a better spot, y'all. I apologize for this. I'm going to stop here. Okay. Here we go. Okay. So just a few questions, much like the people last week we had a workshop about working remotely, and that those folks actually worked in 3 different states, and that was their model. They work entirely remotely. So with that said, you guys were working, I guess, because of COVID, things got stopped, and you were still luckily able to continue your internship with the employer that you had interviewed with. So let's see. Okay, so we can kind of go in rounds, or you can take it as you want to and just speak to that, any of these guys. But did you actually have set hours for your internship? I'm assuming this was a 40-hour-a-week internship, but did you actually have set hours that you had to check in and be accessible?
Yes, I had set hours. I set them myself, actually. So it's pretty neat working remotely. And having the crew from San Francisco because I was 3 hours ahead of them. So they were 3 hours behind me, and I would get up in the mornings at 8 a.m. So it'd be 5 a.m. there, and I would already have knocked out most of my assignments for the day by the time they got up, and they would assign me more things to work on.
Okay.
So in the gap between 5 p.m. and 8 p.m., they would assign me more things to work on the next morning. But I did set my hours because I wanted to work a set constructed hours of 8 to 5, and they worked with me on that in the remote from 3 hour time difference. So that's
Interesting.
Yeah, I agree with Blake. I was given the chance to work from either 8 to 5 or 9 to 6. I chose 8 to 5. But there was a bit of flexibility. My manager worked much longer hours than just a 40-hour week. So she allowed me to log on earlier if I needed to or stay on later if I needed to. Pretty much as long as I was logged on when other team members were logged on, then it was okay. And I was able to help them get work done, complete the tasks they had assigned to me. But like Blake said, there's quite a bit of flexibility. But at the same time, you do want to stick with your team and see what works best with your team and how you can best help your team out.
Right. How about you, Brady?
Mine was very flexible. I built my hours based on whatever I wanted to do that day, pretty much. But my basic premise was I would work from 7 to 3, about 3:30, with a 30-minute break, and that's what I did pretty much every day. And then I would go play golf every afternoon.
Well, that's nice.
60 rounds this year or this summer. So yeah, it was very nice to have that flexibility, and to have it be so open-ended. Company, they were able to do that because it was very much independent projects that I did on my intern.
Okay. That's really interesting. Okay, so what happened, and I'm speaking from experience myself with meetings this summer, with having family members in your house or an animal or things like that. And did you have to have rules about, hey, I'm going to be working, I need to have this space cleared, or don't heat up your lunch while I'm on a Zoom meeting with my team members? So how did that work from working from home?
I think Brady might be the best equipped to answer this question. So Aaron worked with Adam, who also worked 8 to 5 with Wells Fargo. They were in
Okay.
the same house. And then I was living by myself at the beach this summer, so I didn't have to worry about anything.
Well, that's
So
nice.
Brady, you might have the best answer for us there.
There you go.
Yeah, kind of. Thankfully, my brother worked full time basically, so he was out of the house. My mom and dad were both working throughout the day, so it really didn't come into play much. But I guess you could say it was part of it was my dog. I had to take care of my dog while I was there, and it did happen a couple times when my parents would get home at like 4 and I would have a meeting later on, and I would just like text them and let them know like, look, I'm on this call, and they understood because they just wanted for me to have the best experience that I could with this internship and get so yeah,
Awesome.
just be upfront about
Okay.
it.
So you worked around it. So that's everybody. Okay, sounds good. Did you schedule breaks just like if you were at a regular job? Did you stop and take a lunch? Did you stop and take a walk, just to get away from your desk from time to time? Did you schedule those, or did you just kind of take them as they came?
I kind of take them as they came. Of course, I had my scheduled lunch because I like to eat. But so, I mean, with being remote, you are working by yourself, of course. So you kind of find gaps between assignments that you have to do and find natural pauses that you can go out for a little bit. And I had a little routine that I would walk a block around to get some fresh air, or go downstairs and work. I wanted to be outside, but it wasn't bad to schedule around schedule breaks or anything like that.
Good. Okay. Did you have a dedicated office space? Did you set up some way to have, your computer, your monitor, your keyboard? Did the company furnish that? Or since you were already at home, did you just use what you had available to you?
Wells Fargo sent Aaron and myself, or they sent me a monitor and a laptop, and they also sent like the keyboard and everything I would need for that. So we had to call in on our first day of work and get our system login and everything, our username set up. They also gave us a pretty cool little password token, so you have your standard password, and then it regenerates and like a 6-digit number that you have to type in behind your password. Every 15 seconds, there's a new 6-digit number. So they sent us one of those too. So that was pretty neat to have. Uh, Made me feel
Cool.
like I was working for the treasury or something like that.
That's pretty cool.
But yeah, so they furnished us with everything we needed, and I had it set up in had a little desk area in my room, so I was able to do that.
All right.
Yeah, and going off what Blake said about breaks, I think working with Adam, who was a recent hire with Wells, and he graduated last May in the trust program, it was very helpful for me because we would just talk with each other throughout the day and sort of remind each other to take breaks sometimes. And because we just naturally had conversations throughout the day and we worked close together, it was very natural and easy to have those breaks. If I were working on my own and just sitting by myself in a room all day, I don't know if I would have been as inclined to take those breaks. Having another coworker to actually work with and have those just natural conversations with helped remind me that, oh, it's okay if we take a break, or we should get lunch now. So it was very nice to have a coworker and someone else to talk to throughout the day.
That's an unusual situation you were in. That's not usually how we are, all siloed in our own homes. So that was helpful.
Yeah, I can kind of speak to that. I set up an office in what is our guest bedroom, basically. And AFMA sent me a laptop, but I already had a monitor and everything else I would need pretty much. So I just told them I needed a laptop. And I found myself not taking any breaks, and just kind of being like, because I could set my own schedule and I like to just get the work over with, I kind of would work through, and sometimes I would go like 7 to 3 and not take a break and then just be done. Which was nice some days, but I had to kind of remind myself that like it's okay. It's nice to be done at 3, but like you can be done at 3:30 or 4 or whatever. That's okay. So
Right. Okay, so that leads me to the next question is about face-to-face contact with your employer. So Aaron had someone that was working already at Wells, so they had that going on for them, obviously a colleague. But as far as, like you said, getting started, did you have any face-to-face interactions at all through the internship, or was it all virtual meetings?
All of mine were virtual. Like I said, I was as far on the East Coast as you could get, and they were as far on the West Coast. So they unfortunately didn't fly me out there, which is probably a good thing. Due to the I do wish, however, we didn't do any so whenever we had our meetings, we would call in to the Wells Fargo conference line and converse over the phone. And so we never actually met face to face on the computer either. So we never had any Zoom calls or any WebEx calls or anything like that. So I
Wow.
think some of the other interns had a different experience in that. But myself speaking, I didn't have any face to face with my employers whatsoever during my internship.
Did you find that difficult, that you were kind of alone or disconnected because of just the phone situation?
I don't think so. I think it was maybe made it a little, I'm not going to say better than it would have been in person, but we use Skype Business, and so we were able to just shoot a message over to our employers anytime we wanted. Matt, who was the guy that I reported to, called me every morning and every afternoon and
Okay.
texted me throughout the day. So it was pretty informal in that regard. And so I think that I'm not meeting them face to face.
Okay, well, that's what you said about checking in. I've always heard that, and then last week we talked to speak to that as well about working remotely. You feel almost the need to over communicate, give every single play of your day going through. Did you guys feel like you needed to do that just to show that you were producing? Or I'm sure the regular contact was if you're an intern and they're giving you tasks that you're checking the boxes off. So how important was that to you and to them that you were telling that there was the communication going back and forth with you guys?
I think it was very important, and I do think there was a tendency to over communicate, perhaps. I don't know if that was necessarily bad though, because as an intern working virtually, you did have to be very proactive and just stay on top of things. Because by the time that your employer or supervisor noticed that you weren't doing things correctly or you hadn't done something, it was often too late. And whatever it was that you missed doing needed to be done already. So I think there was a tendency to communicate a bit, but I would rather be on top of things. And my mentor, his dad and worked for Spark, he told me right off the bat, the first day of my job, he called me and he said, if there are any questions, just feel free to go ahead and call me. There's no question small to call me over. And it was nice having someone who was closer to my age. Chad was a 2018 Campbell grad, so he hadn't worked for the force for that long. So I felt a lot more comfortable calling him than calling my manager, just because she was a bit busier and a bit more experienced. But I think having that mentor was very helpful, and I was able to communicate with him. And if I ever had any questions, I could just work them out. So that was my internship.
Awesome. Brady, how about you? Did you have that? I know you said you could work straight through. Did you have regular check-ins with your folks, or was it scheduled, or just kind of whenever you had questions? How did you respond with that?
So each morning I would have, I would get up, I would read the Wall Street Journal, and then I would have to send investment outlooks for the day to my direct mentor, Arthur Lyons, the chief investment officer. And then I think it was 8:30, we would have a conversation on Zoom almost every morning about those investment points, or about like career cruising, like what we wanted to do. He was very helpful in every way, pretty much. And he really pushed us to ask questions throughout the day. So like he would ask us to email him like questions, and he genuinely meant it. Like if we had any question about investments, because he would know the answer. He was just encyclopedia about it. Yeah, it was very open-ended. The projects were, they would give me them at the beginning of the week, and we would have those check-ins in the morning. But after that, there really wasn't much. And it was like, here's what you have to do. Let's see what you produce, and that will show us what kind of worker you are. So.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, just a couple more questions. So what was the hardest thing to get used to when you were working remotely? What was the most difficult challenge?
I think for me it was one, the time zone barrier from here to San Francisco, but two, one of the more difficult things was adapting to their system and their software, everything that they use. So they used SCI, which is I couldn't even tell you what it stands for, honestly. Maybe Aaron knows. Aaron, you know what SCI stands for?
You caught me off guard, Blake, because I do not know what SCI stands for.
But it's their internal file database for trust, and so they can look up all their accounts on SCI. And so that was very challenging to use because it looks very retro, and you just type in random numbers and it pulls up all these screens. You have to hit like F3, and but it was so learning how to use those systems. It was a unique obstacle to overcome. One that would be beneficial if I end up working for Wells Fargo in the future.
Absolutely.
But one that was absolutely challenging to learn at first. And they did a good job walking us through it. We took several courses at the beginning of our internship, and we had several mandated trainings through their Develop You, which is their I guess employee database that they have to keep up with their. And so we had to complete several of those before we did our internship. But that was helpful in overcoming that as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. It's like that was a challenge to learn those different systems. Wells Fargo uses quite a few softwares that are not necessarily intuitive. And living with Adam, who was a Wells employee and had worked as Wells intern in the past, that was very helpful because he answered quite a few questions. So when I didn't understand the software, didn't know quite how to use it, he could help me and walk me through it. One other challenge that I noticed during the internship, though, is I'm very much I love to interact with people. I love to interact with people. And I just love to meet people. And not being able to just get office and see people face to face is tough.
Yeah.
I'm fine with email conversations, and as Blake said, we use Skype Business, so we were able to send messages through Skype Business, but it's still not the same as a face-to-face conversation.
Right.
So as often as I pick up the phone and I would try to call them, we didn't really have Zoom calls. It wasn't something that we did in the internship, but we would still try to talk on the phone, just have as much personal communication. But that was a challenge, not seeing your face and not being in person. That was just a challenge as far as getting to know people. I did meet people through the internship. I didn't get to know them very well because we weren't.
Okay. Brady, what was your biggest challenge?
I would second the time zone thing. So my first week with Adam, I worked with a financial planner. Her husband is stationed in Germany, and
Oh,
so it was a 6 or 7 hour difference. I'm not sure, but it was a challenge for that. As a whole, AFMA is just very open to working remotely. So we have people in Phoenix, Arizona, and just people kind of spread out all across the United States and Germany. So it was a bit of a challenge for that. And I also like Aaron's point. I feel like I got to know everyone, and I really enjoyed my time that I spent with them, but it would not have been the same as if I were there in person, really getting to talk to them face to face.
okay. All right. Well, I know to answer this question for you, Brady. It was that you got to play so much golf, but what were the perks of working from home and having more flexibility in the internship?
I think one of the biggest perks for me was being able to make my own schedule to an extent. He gave my employer and the guy that I reported to gave me a list of things that I needed to accomplish for the day or for the week. And as long as I was staying on track, I could kind of take breaks whenever I found time. And I feel like that was maybe something that wouldn't have necessarily happened in the office. That was definitely a perk.
Okay.
I think one perk for me was being time out of the day every once in a while to do something related to community or leadership programs here. And what I mean by that is through the Office of Speaker Life, I participated in a leadership challenge. That was a challenge. So we met from noon to 1 virtually. And I was that because I was doing Wells Fargo. So I would like eat with the challenge while I ate lunch. But I wasn't able to do that if I had been working in the office because I was able to be virtual. I could turn off my Wells Fargo, go get some lunch, and be in the Campbell Challenge. And then once I was done, just go back to my computer. So it was very flexible in just being able to immediately transition from work to personal life when work is done or when work is break or when you're taking a break. So that flexibility to transition from work to personal life and not having that time to go to the office and back to office was definitely essential.
Awesome. Anything else, Brady, besides the golfing?
I mean, I live on a golf course and I work there, so I play for free. So, like, it's everything in my life is for that time during the internship was all centered around there. Like, I did not have to go anywhere. I didn't have to drive anywhere, which I like because I enjoy being at home. Like, some people can work well, like for their schoolwork or their studying, they can do it from their apartment, like I can. And then some people can't do that as well. And I don't know if there's a correlation necessarily between that and like working from home, but I would imagine that there would be. And I can see that I worked well virtually for an internship. I would like study well in my apartment. So I would imagine there's some kind of correlation.
Okay. Well, guys, I really appreciate you participating in this. I'm sure it was a lot of good information for people that are, this is the way of the world, I think we're going to have here for good next little bit, unfortunately. But then again, it's going to prepare you guys for being able to roll with the punches, and that's kind of how life is. But certainly appreciate you guys' time. And I recorded this, so I'm going to have it up on our website so that any other students that couldn't get to it today are going to be able to log in. So appreciate it, guys, and have a good evening. Bye.
Thank you.